Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to the Her Story Online Summit. This is Gertrude Mache here in beautiful Melbourne, Australia, with a phone call coming in at the worst of times. It's wonderful to reconnect with everybody on the 22nd day of a 31-day marathon for the Her Story Online Summit. I'm really excited to be back to bring you a nice new lineup of speakers. But before I launch into the day, I would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia and their connections to land, sea, and community. We pay our respect to their elders, past, present, and emerging, and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait peoples today. Thank you for hosting me in this beautiful country of Australia as we broadcast the Her Story Online Summit with speakers from all over the world. So yesterday I had a fascinating interview with an amazing woman who is in a book that we are co-authoring. We are both authors in this book. And they collaborate and connect is just absolutely phenomenal. So we are part of a collaboration created by Dr. Tererai Trent. She is a professor based in the United States, originally from Zimbabwe, who has set up a fund for young girls in Zimbabwe to get higher education in the US. She picked, I think, 33 or 36 women from all over the world to contribute a chapter. And my guest is one of those women. Enjoy. I had an amazing time connecting with her yesterday and doing this interview for our podcast. So, Elizabeth, thank you so much for being a part of the book as well as a part of the Her Story online movement. I will be back at the end of this video. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Her Story TV and the Her Story podcast. This is Gertrude Mache here in beautiful Melbourne, Australia. And today I am graced with the presence of yet another fascinating woman. Welcome to our tribe. Please tell everybody your full name, where you're based, how old you are, and share your story with us today.
Yeah. Hello. Thank you, Gertrude, for this opportunity, and thank you for your work. And yes, my name is Elizabeth Gabauer. I'm 42 years old. I'm the mother of 2 girls. I live in Austria, nearby Vienna, and I'm a body and soul therapist. And I'm so blessed that I can do every day the work that I love. And today I have a real wonderful life, but most of the time it never felt that way for me. It was, today it's wonderful, but most of my life it was totally different to me. Yes, and this is my story. I grew up in a small village in Austria. Everything normal, nothing special, you know. But my mother was suffering from depression my whole life. She drowned her feelings with psychotropic drugs and sometimes accompanied by alcohol. And as a child, I always felt lost, you know, because the child and mother are so close. You are one. You're so connected, and so her depressive feelings, her frustration, her grief was the grief of mine, you know. And as a child, you're a little bit narcissistic, because if your parents are happy and have a great life, you think this is all about you. You must be a good girl. And when your parents are very sad and full of anxieties and fears and grief, you think this is also about you. And at the age of 15, I think, as a teenager, my whole body turned into a state of resignation. My mind got depressed, and I had a lot to do with panic attacks and depression, and yeah, it was up and down, and a lot of pain in my body. And I was very suicidal because everything getting worse. And after a break up from my first boyfriend, I attempted suicide. And I like the way my mother drowned her feelings with psychotropic drugs and alcohol. I do it that way. A lot of psychotropic drugs and alcohol, and so I attempted suicide. And but after 2 days in coma, and after an inner conversation with my brother on another level of being, there was an awareness I couldn't doubt. I was full aware of everything in my life, and that was to turn the coin. And I decided to choose life. I chose life instead of death. And for me, everything changed. I started to go to therapy, to making yoga, practicing yoga, and every day I practiced meditation, and it changed everything. And I noticed that everything in life happens to you, happens for you. And due to my family history and the suffering of my mother and my suffering, my depression, and that whole stuff, I become, that brought me to the profession of therapist. Yeah.
Wow.
And first of all, it was osteopathy, because I like the voice of the body. And even if you can't speak for yourself, the body will do it for you. And yes, I really love it to work with the body. And then I became a birth doula after my first daughter was born. I worked as a birth doula for 17 years, and I really loved it, because during the birth, you are so close to the source of life. You are so close to sisterhood. You are so close to femininity. And this became, the work with women is the work of my heart. And as a birth doula, I recognized that sometimes life gets hard and narrow, only to give birth to a better version of yourself.
Wow, you have had an incredible journey, really incredible. Now, how old were you when your mother committed suicide?
Oh, it's just 5 years ago.
So it's quite recent.
Yes.
But up until that point, she had all of these psychological issues. You grew up seeing her really suffering.
Yes.
Wow.
And I always wanted to help her. But unfortunately, she couldn't turn the tide, because her brain was too ill because of the alcohol. And she couldn't think clearly, and so she committed suicide.
Wow. And how many were you and your family? You mentioned your brother.
My brother and I.
Just the two of you? Okay.
Yes.
So he played a pivotal role in this conversation you had with him, right? And this is while you were in hospital?
Yeah, yeah. I was in coma for 2 days,
Yeah.
and I don't know how it happened. He was there with me, you know, on another level of being.
Yes.
And I was so fully aware of everything around me. And I really recognized that I can turn the coin. And there are always two sides of the coin, you know. You are able to feel fear, you are able to be very brave. And if you are able to be frustrated, you are able to create a life full of happiness.
Yes. The choice is ours, right? We get to make that choice every single day.
Every single day, yes.
What an incredible experience. And now you are on a journey where you empower, you help women, the coaching and the mentoring, and also being a birth doula. You're right. There is that fine line between life and death, and watching a baby being born is one of the most special things in the world, right?
Yes, I love it. I love it so much. And it's all about sisterhood.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
Being is about sisterhood, and sometimes we are a lot of women and make a holy circle.
Yes.
To,
Around each other.
Around each other, and to be there for the women in her birth process.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, how beautiful.
Yeah.
That is just amazing. Now, if you were to go back and have a conversation with a young woman who had experienced her mother committing suicide, yourself going through the same trauma and wanting to commit suicide, if there's a young person who's listening to us right now in not a very good mental state of mind, what advice, 3 pieces of advice would you give them?
Mm-hmm. Don't let the environment define who you are. That's so important. Don't let the environment define who you are. And you can choose who you are and who you want to live. And life always asks you how we want to live and what kind of person we want to be.
Yes. So you have that choice. So that's one. What else?
Yeah.
What other advice can you give?
The second advice is very important. You need space for yourself. You need space for yourself without distraction, without your phone and books or music, only to become aware of your thoughts and feelings. Because if you are not aware of your thoughts and your feelings, you can't change them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can't hide. Yes.
Amazing.
And the third is become the love of your life. Have a love affair with yourself. Everything you want to get from the outside, love and peace and joy and happiness, give it to yourself.
Yeah.
Put it into yourself and become love, become peace, become joy. And we are all able to do this. We are all, my mother didn't believe in herself and I didn't believe in myself, you know, but if you believe, you can change everything. And if you can believe that, if you love life, life will love you back. So easy.
Oh, that is a beautiful saying. If you love life, love will love you back. That's very true. Life does reward you for what you put out. We are constantly putting out that positive or negative vibration. And depending on where your focus is, you get it back.
Yes, absolutely.
Wow. Wow. Now, if I could now take you into the future, let's pretend that time doesn't exist. Yeah. And you could go into the future and have a conversation with the 100-year-old you. that amazing woman who's lived this magical life, empowering other women, what would you say to the older you based on how you're living your life right now, this choice that you've made?
It was a party. It was a real party. Yeah, life is a party and we have to celebrate it and to, what would I say? It was a great party. Thank you for that. And thank you for being connected with such wonderful women. And yes, you had a party life.
It looks to me like you have touched the lives of many women. I know that giving birth is a very special occasion. My ex-husband was an obstetrician, and I know the joy that the women that whose babies he delivered. It was an experience that he said he couldn't put into words or describe, having that kind of a job and all the babies that are in the world because you were there to support their mothers. I think that's pretty special as well.
Yeah.
So you and I are involved in the book that Dr. Tererai Trent is putting together, the anthology, The Sacred Promise. How did you meet Dr. Tererai Trent? How did you get involved in this project?
Mm-hmm. I bought her book, Awakening Woman, years ago.
Right.
And then I was a follower on Instagram, and I read about her foundation, you know, the
Yes.
International Foundation, and that was so great for my heart to read how she support other women.
Yes.
And
yes.
And I know that this is so important for us women to empower us.
Each
and
other.
So yeah. And so I started to, I don't know the word in English, I spent money on it, you know, on the foundation. And
okay. So you were contributing towards the foundation. Okay.
There were a lot of women who helped me to get money for this foundation.
Yes.
So I get into contact with Dr. Tererai Trent, and yes, and so it started. And then I was informed about the book Sacred Promise, and I noticed for me that is the right time to do this. So it was
so perfect.
Yes.
I'm very excited that she's managed to get women from all over the world. You're in Vienna, I'm in New Zealand, Australia. I've been interviewing some of the other authors as well. We're scattered all over the world. What would be beautiful if we could all come together and celebrate the formal book launch.
We should.
I think we should all go to New York and be with her when the book launches. That would be pretty special. Well, I'm really excited to have met you. I know that the sisterhood that she has brought us together will last for a long time in our lives. I just want to thank you for your contribution for helping educate little girls in Zimbabwe. I was one of those little girls. I grew up there. I was born there. And the power of education for a young woman can completely change your life. It gets you out of poverty. So thank you. I'm so excited that we've met this way and we're going to journey with Dr. Tererai Trent and bring this amazing book to the world. Now, I know that we're all individually trying to sell books. Where can people buy copies of your book?
Yeah, at my homepage,
Okay.
elizabethgarber.at. And you can on Instagram and Facebook.
Right.
You write to me and I will send you then the copy, and on Amazon. Yeah, that's the way.
All right. So type in the chat the website where people can find you and pre-order the book. And then what I will do is when I edit this video, I will make sure that your website link or wherever people can find you is on the interview. So everybody, please support. I know we've got quite a few people in Vienna, in Germany, in Europe, who are wanting to buy Dr. Tererai Trent's book. Just remember that every single copy that we are selling is going towards raising money to educate young girls from Zimbabwe to get higher education in the United States. Dr. Trent is setting up an education fund that is going to transform the lives of many, many, many young women. So please go onto Elizabeth's website, pre-order a copy. And once the book comes out, I think we said in June, you will get your copy. So we're trying to sell or pre-sell as many books as possible. So Elizabeth, thank you so much for contributing your story. Thank you for being a part of this amazing movement. Like I said, I'm excited that we will meet in person very, very soon, I'm sure.
I'm sure. And thank you so much, Gertrude, for your work. It's incredible. It's amazing. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. I will be back again tomorrow with yet another amazing guest. Have a fantastic day, morning, or evening, wherever you are in the world. Bye for now. So that was my first guest for the morning. Elizabeth, thank you again for that incredible interview. I did promise that I will share the link to your website. So if anybody wants to pre-order the book, it's called The Sacred Promise. Dr. Tererai Trent is an amazing woman based in the United States who has a passion to educate as many young girls from Zimbabwe as possible. So if you are a Zimbabwean female living out of Africa, in the UK, US, wherever you are in the world, please support us by buying a copy of this book. We really want to make sure that the book is a success. We have Elizabeth Gilbert writing the foreword for the book, which is absolutely fantastic. And yeah, I feel inspired to be able to connect with women like Elizabeth, Dr. Tererai Trent, and create this fund that will change the lives of many young girls from Zimbabwe to get higher education in the United States. So without further ado, we're going to move on to our next speaker. This woman is very special to me. She is one of the pioneers of the HerStory online movement. Her name is Sandy B. Simmons, and she is based right here in Melbourne, Australia. Sandy, thank you for being a part of our tribe. I'll read a little bit of your bio. So she is the founder and educator at Simply Better Health and guardian of nature and in-spirit energetics. Sandy has worked extensively in her life helping women. She's also the CEO of Pregnant Today, and she helps women around being pregnant, becoming a parent. She says, I believe the building blocks of our next generation will be with parents to be. I think very differently. I believe there's always a way and that the possibilities are endless, whether it's to increase your vitality, enhance fertility, create healthy pregnancies and offspring, your family benefits within the nature-based environments, instigating a butterfly effect, impacting friends and family, which flows on to people right around the world. So thank you so much for sharing your nuggets of wisdom, for empowering women when they're on that journey to motherhood. It is a challenging time for most women, and you are there to help and support women enjoy their pregnancies, have safe deliveries, and very, very healthy babies as well. Thank you, Sandy.
Hi, thanks for having me here.
It's so good to see you again. Please formally introduce yourself. Tell everybody where you're based, how old you are, and just share your story today on the HerStory podcast.
Okay, so my name is officially Sandra Beryl Simmons, affectionately known as Sandy, and go under the name of, you might find me under Sandy B to differentiate me a little bit. Wow, I'm in Melbourne, Australia, originally from London. I've been here for many years. I'm 63 years old, almost. I've hit that in a couple of weeks. 62 at the moment. Wow, where to start with my story? I'll go through my life fairly briefly to give you a bit of an overview. When I was 12, I was suddenly told that we were going to go and live in Australia. And I had no idea where that was back in the 60s. I'd done a little bit of geography at school, but wanted to know whether I needed to learn another language.
Wow.
And whilst I speak English, there is another language here, but we fall into it fairly quickly. So, yeah, we came here. It was really difficult, very hard. My father had a heart attack after a couple of months of being here, and my mother ended up in hospital with chest infection, etc. So I took the reins, being the eldest, and my life sort of turned upside down into being a bit of a parent for a while.
Wow.
I was thrust through school very, very quickly. I was going to grammar school in England, so they put me up a couple of years here. I finished school at 16, and have a very old-fashioned father who didn't want me to go to university because girls don't do that. So I ended up doing the good old, reception stenographer type work.
Okay.
And in response to that, I left home at 17.
Oh, wow.
And went back to the UK with my extended family. I missed them dreadfully, as did my mum.
Mm-hmm.
And stayed there for a few years, came back, met somebody, got married, had children. And after about 10 years, realised that this isn't really what I wanted. So my journey, I guess, started when I was that magic age of 33, where I decided that I wanted something different in life, and I wanted my family to, or my children, to experience things as much as possible, but in a healthy way. So I went on to study nutrition and naturopathy, and I had already been working as a breastfeeding counsellor. I went on to become a lactation consultant, and then I delved into fertility. So I work out at Monash with which is one of our main medical centres here, with a doctor over there and we're both trying to get natural fertility into that zone that's missed from doctor to IVF specialist. We're trying to get this gap filled up with a lot of information. So that's my focus at the moment. I've written one book on preconception. I'm writing the next one on conception at the moment, in between nursing my mum. And many of you might relate to that. Yes. At our age. And just focusing on being in clinic just 2.5 days a week, and some online work. I have a few clients overseas, and basically it's really about helping them to see whether they want to have children, because quite often these days people are feeling like they have to,
Yes.
And it's not really their calling, and sorting all that out. So we do a lot of that work if people resonate with what I do. And then if they do decide to, I obviously attract the cases that are a bit difficult. And, you know, we might end up having to have a bit of assistance, but not necessarily total IVF. And, you know, there's a lovely woman right at the moment about to give birth in Singapore who is 44 and had all sorts of trouble. She did IVF a few times. She had multiple miscarriages. And after working with me for 6 months last year, her and her partner decided to go IUI, which is just the assisted part of IVF, and fell pregnant straight away, and it's all gone beautifully.
Explain that terminology to us, because I'm pretty sure that there's going to be women who are going to listen to this call who have a friend, who have a daughter, a granddaughter. What does that mean?
Okay, so I guess most of us know what IVF is, where you go the what I call the full hog, and you have, you know, your eggs are often taken out maybe a few years before and frozen.
Mm-hmm.
But when you do want to become pregnant, so then what they'll do is they'll artificially on for the woman herself. She might have to take quite a few different drugs to prepare her body, and then there's no guarantee that
We had a bit of a technical glitch there. So I'm going to just reshare the video and try and pick up from the point where Sandy was speaking.
So that's my focus at the moment. And after working with me for 6 months last year, her and her partner decided to go IUI, which is just the assisted part of IVF, and fell pregnant straight away, and it's all gone beautifully.
Explain that terminology to us, because I'm pretty sure that there's going to be women who are going to listen to this call who have a friend, who have a daughter, a granddaughter. What does that mean?
Okay, so I guess most of us know what IVF is, where you go the what I call the full hog, and you have, you know, your eggs are often taken out maybe a few years before and frozen.
Mm-hmm.
But when you do want to become pregnant, so then what they'll do is they'll artificially use the semen from your partner and artificially impregnate those eggs and then place them back in your body. But for you to be able to accept that, there's a lot of hormone treatment that goes on. It also depends on what's going on for the woman herself. She might have to take quite a few different drugs to prepare her body. And then there's no guarantee that will actually hold when that egg's replaced back in the body. When we talk about IUI, that's just sort of an assisted type of where you don't really take the drugs very much. There's not many drugs involved, and sometimes it's just a matter of taking one. A very common one is Clomid, some of you may have heard of, and really preparing the body, which is what we do, and it all flows beautifully. So it could be just tweaking those hormones a little bit, especially if someone's a little bit older. So that sort of gives you the difference. It's you know, not as toxic, and yeah, in our field, what we're endeavouring to do is to get the message out there that a lot of things can be done naturally. A lot of women don't understand their cycle, but you know, we all know that we get a period, we all know that we ovulate, that it doesn't necessarily have to be on a particular day, which everybody says it's day 14. And sometimes the apps aren't accurate enough. We need to do a lot of observation and understand exactly what's going on. So,
oh, fantastic. That's very, very encouraging to hear. Now, your first book, you talk about post-conception. And for people who are struggling with infertility, there is a lot that you can do before you prepare to have your baby that can help in that fertilization process, correct?
That's exactly right.
It's a good thing. And I hope you're going to do another book, a third one, so there's a sequel to your series.
Oh, there is 5 in the series.
Awesome.
So the third one is on pregnancy.
Yes.
Yeah. And then there's one on birthing and one on lactation and early foods.
Okay.
So it goes 9 months before, 9 months pregnant,
yes,
9 months after.
Oh,
You know, it's a really overarching area that we would like to see some sort of continuity of connecting with the same people and having people to guide these new parents through, or parents to be.
what called you to work in this area? Was it through a personal challenge of your own?
What called me to work in this area? Well, I've worked in lactation for a very long time, over 30 years, and nutrition. And I saw the consequences with being called out to babies that was really suffering. And I feel needlessly, I know that there is a big gap in education about breastfeeding. I'm not a Nazi, I'm not saying everybody has to breastfeed, but we need to understand the consequences of not breastfeeding.
Yes.
Or not having access to human milk. If, you know, you can't, for some reason, can't breastfeed yourself, there's only, like 3% of women in the world really can't breastfeed, and that's usually because of breast augmentation or, having breasts implanted.
Yes.
They could have cut nerves, all sorts of things. It all depends. Or the reverse, reducing your breast size. And sometimes there's just been a malformation. The breasts haven't developed, but it's such a really, really small minority.
Yeah.
And if we think about all the mammals in the world, and they all nurture their babies, they all feed them themselves, because it's just that continuum from feeding them inside,
yeah,
and it's that extension outside.
Quite critical when the baby is born.
Yeah, it really is critical. I mean, how long you keep it going for is also another issue.
Yes.
But if people could just, and women could realise and work through the issues that they feel they have, if they've got some, before they have the baby. So during pregnancy, there's quite a bit of, education still needed, so that you're prepared. Because whilst it's a seemingly natural process, like many things these days, things have become complicated.
Yeah, so true. Oh, wow. So if you were to talk to a couple right now, or a woman out there who's listening to this podcast and isn't sure whether they want to have a baby, because you said something very interesting in the beginning, that it's not for everyone to parent. Sometimes people feel under a lot of pressure from family, from friends, that after you've reached a certain age in your life, you should have a baby. And if that person felt they didn't want to have a baby and they're feeling under pressure, what advice would you give?
Okay, advice is probably not the right word as such, but it's leading you through a process to hopefully with your partner, to decide what, it's not even to decide, because you've probably already made the decision, but to really speak about what it is that you're feeling. Yeah. And quite often women don't express what they feel because of this big expectation, this is what my body's supposed to be doing and creating.
Mm-hmm.
but it's not something that I want to head down. I've got a bigger calling. You know, there's plenty of children in the world. It's not like we're becoming extinct at the moment. And my sister is a perfect example. She hasn't had children.
Okay.
She chose not to have children, and she always speaks about that quite openly. And her work is her baby, so to speak.
Yes.
So I've worked that through with her at you know, probably 20, 30 years ago.
Right.
So I guess that also came into being into the process of what I put into my work.
Yeah.
Give advice is really, there's a process to go through. I can be an intermediary, talking with you and the other people in your life to sort of get them to sort of change their mindset, and have a think about, are they actually putting so much stress on this person?
Without
they
even
could
realizing it too, a lot of the times.
Sorry?
And sometimes without even realizing it.
Oh, definitely. It's all unconscious, most of it. It's not done deliberately, but once that is pointed out that, you know, that this is what's happening, and it can be the same for somebody who wants to get pregnant and they've got this extra stress around them too. And family and friends, all very well-meaning, sometimes are not your best friends at that particular time.
That's so true.
Yeah. And, you know, I've had a couple of different couples that have decided the woman is the one who's instigated it and said, I don't want to have children, spoken to the father with me there, or not the father that could have been a father, the partner, and he's just gone, oh, thank goodness for that, because I don't either. Why they chose each other in the first place, but they, you know, they didn't realise. So
here to tell the other. Oh wow.
Yeah, so
Amazing.
It's really about having even conversations like we're having now, that and just going through a few little processes to see if it is really what you would love to do. And you know, we've got women who are still having babies in their 40s, if you choose to later.
Yes.
My motto is never say never.
Yeah.
It may not be the right time for that person.
Yeah. That's
you know,
fascinating. So how can people get hold of you, Sandy?
well, they can get hold of me by my email, sandy at simplybetterhealth.com.au.
I'll share that to the podcast.
I've said it too fast. Sandy, SANDY, at Simply Better Health. Yeah, .com.au.
Okay.
And they can call me on, it'll be +61 402 051 553. I like to talk to people direct. I'll call you back if you leave a message, if I'm just not available at the time or talking to somebody else. I like to work with people one-on-one if they choose to do that work. But I am heading out into the speaking arena again. I just want to get to more people. I've just been asked to speak at the Women's Economic Forum in India next year.
Awesome.
So I'm putting my feelers out for a few more events to speak at.
It's really good that you're getting yourself out there and making yourself accessible. And now with the advent of the internet, you've got clients not just in Australia, but in Singapore. So if anybody out there is listening, Sandy is accessible and available. I will share all the details of her website and her email with the podcast. But Sandy, thank you so much for coming online this morning and sharing with us. This is a pivotal topic for most women. Bearing of children is a pressure that is put on us by society. Some of us love it, some of us don't, and it's okay either way.
That's right.
Thanks so much, Sandy.
That's all right. Can I just add that I have a website called Pregnant Today?
Okay.
I'll give that to you, and I'll give you those details in the chat.
All the links that you would like to go with the podcast. That would be great. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sandy.
Bye.
Okay, so that was the beautiful Sandy Simmons, helping women have healthy pregnancies, navigating the space of womanhood, the choices we have to make, and it's always up to you to decide what you want to do with your body. So I promised Sandy that I would share all of her links. We've got her website at the bottom of the screen. She has a second website that you can get her on. It is Pregnancy Today. I will add that now so that if anybody out there would like to get hold of Sandy, you can do so. And I'm pretty sure she will reciprocate and get in touch with you too. So Sandy, I am back in Melbourne. Let's hope that we get to reconnect and talk. We're planning our first in-person conference here in Melbourne. Found the most fantastic venue in Toorak. So when you watch this video, please get in touch with me. Would love you to be one of the speakers at that event. So without further ado, we're going to move on to our next speaker. Now, a lot of women in Africa don't get access to the internet to be able to share their stories. So I recently created several WhatsApp groups because most women in Africa have got access to a cell phone. And I started getting responses from women sharing their stories. This is a short video that was shared by Wayne Kona. She's born in 1992, married, and has 3 children, 2 girls and a boy. She lives in Bulawayo, which is the second largest city in Zimbabwe. And this is her story. We'll listen to her story, and then I will come back online and we'll have a little bit of a discussion about Wayne's story as well.
Wayne Kona. I'm married. I have 3 children and I'm 29 years old. I'm from Zimbabwe in Bulawayo. And I would like to thank you so much for making me part of this program. Today I would like to share my story with every one of you. I was raised by my mother after my father just left us, telling my mother that he was going job hunting. He left us till today. He hasn't come home. He just left home. I was 8 years old by then, and I had still a long way to go with my education. I needed a father. I needed both my parents to be there for me. But unfortunately, my father just chose to leave us. Life became so hard for us because my mother had no job. My mother had no business for herself. Life became so very hard to an extent that I didn't have enough education. And today,
hi everybody, this is Gertrude.
business that I'm running so far, but I've got that zeal to start my own business. I've got that zeal because since 8 years old, today I'm 29 years old, I've watched my mother struggling. Here and there, my mother struggling to make ends meet, to pay fees, to provide food for us, to provide clothing. It became so very hard for my mother because she had no job. I want to change. I want to change the fact that my mother struggled. I don't want to struggle as well. I've got 3 children. I don't want my children to suffer. I don't want my children to struggle. I don't want my children to live the life that I lived. That's why today I have a vision with me. I have a vision to build a legacy for my children. I have a vision so that I can be an independent woman who knows how to work for herself, who knows how to stand and do something for herself. I've got a piece of land that I want to work on. So far, I don't have a capital to drill a bore. So far, I don't have a capital to buy JoJo tanks. I don't have a capital to buy the solar panels so that I can start working on that piece of land. But my zeal and my passion is in farming. I want to be a young farmer. Of course, there is a hard work. Farming goes with the hard work. But I am willing to do whatsoever it takes so that I can be a somebody in life. I want to build a legacy for my children. And above all, in my community, there are very few women that are running their own businesses. There are very few women who knows how to stand besides the income of their husbands. This project that I want to engage in, this project that I want to start, I want to empower women. I want to teach women, to educate them on how to stand, on how to work hard so that they can provide for their children, they can provide for their families without relying on their husbands' salaries. Gone are those days when women will just wait for the women's salaries, for the men's salaries. Gone are those days. Gone are those days. A community without empowered women is just as dead. Today, I just want to remind women with this project. I want to remind women of who they are, the strength that they have. If a woman is determined to do something, that thing can benefit the whole community, the whole society. Being a woman is not all about cooking for the children. It's not all about just looking after the children. But a woman has to stand up and be independent. A woman has to stand up and do some work so that she can be financially stable herself. There are a lot of responsibilities that women are having in a home. There are a lot of responsibilities. So now, today, with this vision of mine, I would like to remind women of who they are. I want to remind women of the power that they have in themselves. I would like to remind women that the future is not promised to anyone. Of course, I might be having a husband today, but I don't know what might happen tomorrow. I don't know what can happen in the future. So, with this vision that I have, with this vision that I have today, I want to empower and educate them, at the same time reminding them of who they are, the power that they have. Farming in itself, because I'll be growing some vegetables, I'll be growing some mealies. Besides selling, I can feed my children. Besides selling, my children cannot go to bed with an empty stomach. Same as other women. I will educate them on how to grow different vegetables, different things. Firstly, so that they can provide for their families. And secondly, so that if they grow in knowledge and in putting more effort, they can sell those products that they will be growing and then get money to take the children to school, and then they get money to do everything that they need to do. So now, with farming, I can provide for my family. With farming, I know even in my community, there are not many people who are engaged in farming. So now if I start growing vegetables and everything that I can grow, I know most it will benefit my community. Some people, they go to town to buy vegetables, but I know if I start with this project, I know it will also help the community as a whole. The market will be just nearby. The market will be just nearby. I am a determined woman. I want to stand up. I want to change my story. I don't want I don't want my children to struggle. I don't want to struggle myself just because my mother struggled. I want to stand up and work for myself. I want to stand up and work for my children. Gone are those days when a woman will be just for bearing children only. Life has changed so much. Gone are those days when women will just wait for the salaries from men. Women can just do something for themselves and their children. I thank you so much. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you so much, Wayne. She's very soft spoken. I hope you could all hear what she was saying. But she is basically appealing for financial assistance so she can start working on the piece of land that she has. A lot of women in Zimbabwe have access to land, but struggle with just the basics of buying seed. I know she's trying to sink a borehole. And in the area where she lives in Bulawayo, it's very, very dry. So she will need to get a company to come and drill a borehole so she can be able to grow crops on that piece of land. So Wayne, thank you so much for your contribution. We're going to try and see how much we can support you and help you to get some seed, get the borehole sunk in Zimbabwe, And hopefully we can turn it into a cooperative where you're helping other women in your community as well. So thank you so much for that. A lot of women in Zimbabwe are abandoned by their husbands. Husbands go away saying they're going to look for a job, sometimes in South Africa or Zambia or Mozambique, and they don't come back. So mothers are left to fend for themselves with 3, 4, 5 children, just like Wayne's mother. And I can relate to the struggle that her mother must have gone through, unable to educate her kids. So hopefully we'll help you turn that story around. Thank you for your contribution. So now the next person we are going to be listening to is a woman who is an author by the name of Lourdes Wellhaven. I interviewed her about the condition that she has with rheumatoid arthritis. But she is a dynamic human being who is an author. She writes books. She's a speaker and is really committed to bringing joy in the world through her writing. One of her books, the latest release, is called A Beach, A Bichon Freeze, and a Body. So you can go onto Amazon and find it. I will share the link to her website with this interview video as well. Wonderful to have met you. I would love to reconnect with you. So I will tag you on this video on Facebook and everywhere else. And let's have an update of
Thank you so much, Gertrude. It's really an honor to meet you and to share with your audience. I'm in Florida, which is normally sunny, but right now it's not. But it's not cold. It's not cold. It's still, almost 80 degrees. And this is my sidekick, Bella. She's my little dog, and she's being very good right now, and I'm hoping that she'll continue to be good. And I wanted to tell you a little bit about my story. I was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis at a very young age. To me now, at age 50 seems young. At age 23 was when I was diagnosed. And for those of you that may not be aware of what rheumatoid arthritis is, it's a disease where your body attacks its own joints and potentially beyond its own joints. And unfortunately, in some patients, it's generally a lifetime disease. There is no cure. It can be managed, but it is potentially progressive, where there is disability in your future, potentially. You don't know. Everyone is different. So to receive that diagnosis at 23, that I had something that just came out of nowhere, that was a lifetime diagnosis that was not curable, that could lead to disability, is something really hard to deal with at any age, let alone at such a young age. Also having prior to that been so active. So that was tough. That was tough.
So how have you managed to deal with that throughout your life, and how is it impacting on your health now? What are the symptoms?
Thankfully, knock on wood, thank God. At some point you become your own medical researcher, because as wonderful as doctors and medical science is, you have to advocate for yourself. And that's what I learned after probably a decade of living with rheumatoid arthritis. The early years were very tough and very difficult, with a lot of disability and permanent damage that I have in my joints even to this day. But now I think if I didn't tell you, you wouldn't know. And if I didn't show you joints that were kind of weird looking, I don't think you would know. And a lot of that has to do with just doing my own research on the medications that I was willing to take versus what my doctors wanted me to take. And so I really sought out the best specialists. that worked with my local doctor. I have a great doctor who I believe in. And so a lot of it is, again, just really advocating for yourself. My doctor also is someone who truly believes in, he's so careful with the words that he uses with me. That's the best way I can describe it. He's very positive. He is very encouraging, and he just doesn't dwell. For him, the negative isn't even a possibility. And that is so empowering after meeting other doctors prior to him that were like, in fact, I had one that told me, you will either be dead or crippled, or dead and crippled in a year.
Oh.
And I know. And I said, it was so ridiculous, Gertrude, because if I'm dead, what do I care if I'm crippled, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, it was
So
just so
crazy.
over the top dramatic, because he wanted me to go a certain course of action. And this doctor, Dr. Kennedy, is wonderful. He has never said anything like that to me. In fact, he has always said the opposite. You're doing great. You're going to do better. You know, all of these sort of things. And I believe that the spoken word over us absolutely has an effect.
Yeah.
There's no doubt.
So tell me something. Have you changed your diet in any way? Does eating certain foods affect your condition? What are you doing, you know, outside of what's prescribed in terms of alternative type remedies?
Well, this isn't outside of what is prescribed, but it's certainly outside of the mainstream. When I decided to research for myself, I found an article actually in Women's Day about a doctor who was the head of rheumatology at Harvard, who was treating Kathleen Turner. She has rheumatoid arthritis. Kathleen Turner with minocycline. Minocycline is an antibiotic, one that they give teenagers for acne. And it intrigued me because I took tetracycline for acne when I was a teenager.
Right.
And the thought process is that many people with rheumatoid arthritis, maybe they have Lyme disease that's just been undiagnosed, or maybe it's Lyme related, whatever, who knows. So I saw the doctor at Harvard. I traveled there, got him to see me because I figured, hey, if he saw Kathleen Turner, I must see this man, you know? So
Yeah.
Anyway, I stalked him until he agreed to see me, and he consulted with my doctor here. And so that is not, it is considered a disease-modifying anti-rheumatic drug, but it is not what is normally prescribed. And it may not work for everyone, but
Yeah.
it did work.
It worked for you.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Now, I know that they say that we are given challenges in life so we can become teachers. And I know that you've written a book. Do you want to talk a little bit about your book? Because it seems to me like you're empowering other people who are being faced with the same condition.
Thank you for that opportunity. And that's why Miss Bella is here, my everything. She's so awesome. My book is titled The Christmas Poodle, and it's about a young boy who has rheumatoid arthritis, because little kids can have rheumatoid arthritis also. And his condition is such that his parents feel that he needs a service dog. And he also just so badly wants to be normal. And so both things hit right before this school Christmas pageant play. And, you know, his teacher tells him it's okay, you can be in the back. No one will see the dog, no one will see you, it'll be fine. But of course, the day of the play, the shepherd gets sick. He's the only one that knows the shepherd's lines. And he goes out there with the shepherd's outfit, you know, the shepherd's staff, and his service dog, a poodle, which is much bigger than Bella. The dog, Annabelle, in the book is a standard, a big poodle. So everyone thinks that this big poodle is supposed to be there as a sheep. So it all turns out great in the end, right? It's a chapter book for kids 8 through 12 years old. But my hope with this is to help kids, not only with rheumatoid arthritis, but children that feel that they just don't fit in and they're afraid to stand out. That's how I felt at 23. I didn't want to be pitied, you know, and the boy in this book doesn't want to be pitied either. And so I'm hoping if we impact youth, you know, that they'll understand that people that have chronic illnesses just want to be like everyone else, that they just don't want to be pitied, and that there is what you think is your detriment can also be your greatest gift.
Yes. And a lot of people don't realize that. You're so right. Oh, I love what you're doing. And where can people buy your book? Is it on Amazon, on your website?
It's on Amazon. It's both an ebook and paperback format. A lot of people want to purchase paperbacks for kids, you know, as presents and such. So it's The Christmas Poodle, and available on Amazon. Certainly on my website, you can find a link to it, but it's easiest just to look for The Christmas Poodle on Amazon.
Now, I'm asking everybody who's participating in this podcast to leave us with 3 nuggets of wisdom. The first one, I would like you to tell me, what would you have told your younger self 25 years ago when you were first diagnosed, based on what you know now? And then the other 2 can be anything else.
I would have told myself in that moment that you're going to be okay. And it's actually what my doctor told me at the time. He said there will come a day that you won't think of this on a day-to-day basis, that you're going to be okay. Because it was very scary at the time. So I would tell myself, you're going to make it, you're going to be okay. And then the other 2 pieces of wisdom I'm going to say that I would have told myself then, or anyone now, is that the only thing in life that matters, the only thing, is the people that you love and those that love you. That's it. Success, material success and things and stuff like that is nice. It's a tool.
Yes.
But the thing that matters. And then the third thing I would say is that there's a lot of good in the world, and you embody that, Gertrude, with especially what you're trying to do. And I'm getting chills because I'm thinking about this. There's so much ugliness right now that we're faced with, but the reality is that there is still goodness in the world, and we have to hold on to that, and we have to hold on to each other.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for doing this and coming to connect with my audience this morning. It's such a pleasure to meet you. Your positivity can be felt all the way in New Zealand. And I think that's what we need to see more of in the world. You're really right. And that's why this podcast is really a space for women to share their pain, their challenges, their successes, so that we can inspire and motivate each other to be better. So thank you for coming on board and sharing this morning. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. I mean it sincerely. I've followed you, and it's an honor to spend some time with you, Gertrude. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your day.
You too. Thank you, Gertrude.
Bye. Wow. What an honor and a pleasure to meet so many phenomenal women just sharing these amazing stories. You know, you look at this woman who has rheumatoid arthritis, was diagnosed at an early age, and she could have given up on life, but she didn't. So many women are fighters. There's so much resilience in us. And it just gives me so much joy to be able to share these stories. So please go onto her website, get her new book. If you have little children, or if you know somebody who has a child who is challenged health-wise, her children's books are so delightful. You will just absolutely adore them. So thank you so much for your contribution to today's online summit. I move on to our next speaker for the day. Jill Curson is based in Greater Toronto region in Canada. She's a certified professional coach, a leadership coach, and an executive coach. She also coaches ADHD, people who are needing help and support. And I'll just briefly read her bio. So she's a certified coach with a doctoral level education in counseling and diverse experience in all aspects of career, executive coaching, leadership development, with a caring heart and a professionally trained ear. A diverse career that has spanned industries and countries, the US and Canada primarily, with one common lifelong tenet: always encourage clients to live outside of their comfort zone, embrace imperfect action, and accept failure as a growth opportunity. Oh, I really like that. Jill, thank you so much for contributing your story and being a part of our community. I'm looking forward to reconnecting with you and seeing where you're at in life, because this interview was done a few years ago. Thank you.
So my name is Jill Curson, business-wise, or Jill Curson Tejmola. And I've been living in Canada since 2016. I moved up here with my partner and our son. Prior to that, I lived in Washington, D.C. for 22 years and went to grad school there and worked there. And I also had the opportunity to live overseas. My dad took a job when I was 15 in Paris, France, and not a hardship post. And so the middle of my 10th grade, or my sophomore year in high school, I moved over there, and then I stayed to graduate, and then I went to a year university. Then I went to a year university in Tel Aviv, Israel, then moved back to Connecticut. So don't always tell everyone that, but it's a little bit relevant to the story. And I am 53 years old.
Fantastic. So you have lived a very international life and very, very interesting life, but there is a dark story there from what I read from your bio. Do you want to go into that?
I don't know if it's so dark, but about my mom?
Yes.
Yeah.
I love the way.
I was like, what dark story? Yeah. So, it's really interesting because I don't think about it on a daily basis. And the story is that I can't even remember how old I was. We blocked things out. I'm not particularly good at that anyway. But I think I must have been about 9 or 10. And when I talk about it, I can visualize myself. We lived at the end of a street in Canada. They call them crescents. In the US, they call them cul-de-sacs.
Yes.
So we were the last house on, a suburban road that was, it's much more rural than the suburbs I live in now.
Yeah.
My childhood ended on that day in a lot of ways. And I was doy, walking down the hill. We had a big hill, and then our house was at the bottom of that hill. And there was a big ambulance in the driveway. And I was like, oh, this is bad. And I don't remember exactly what happened, but I remember that my mom was taken to the hospital. I was taken to the neighbor's house, or the neighbor came and got me or took me. I don't remember watching her leave to go to the hospital. Mm-hmm. I remember when she came home, because she didn't get admitted. let her leave, I guess, with my dad. And my parents were separated at that time.
Okay.
And they got back together, and they just celebrated 60 years of marriage, although I always tease them that it's not really 60. And so she tried to take her life. And my uncle and aunt and most of our family lived in Philadelphia. That's where I was born. My parents moved to Connecticut when I was 4. And my mom, I guess, called her sister and said, you know, how much of whatever she took do you need? And my aunt called the ambulance in Connecticut from Pennsylvania and sent them to the house. You know, I have memories of finding her crying, you know, and being upset. And, you know, now, you know, I know that she suffered from depression and whatever that was that tipped her over the edge. I think the story in whatever happened along the way was that she, well, obviously you feel like there's nothing to go on for, the pain's too much. That's always the story, right, with suicide.
Yeah.
But I think, you know, and hopelessness, but I think it was that my dad was working and living in DC, Washington, ironically, where all 3 of us, my 2 older sisters and I, ended up.
Okay.
And you know, he kind of stopped coming home on the weekends, and then he said he wasn't involved with anyone, which of course he was. Yeah, so that's the story. And it's true what I said about her carefree kid at that
Yeah.
point.
Life changed completely.
Mhm.
And how did you cope? How did you get through these difficult times?
Yeah, it's such a strange thing because I don't have a clear memory of things close by it, right? Which
Mhm.
is one of our coping mechanisms, I think. You know, but my mom came home, you know, she went to therapy. I have 2 older sisters. I don't remember if my aunt came or she didn't. My dad helped her. You know, then there was no medication to go on. There was really just Valium, which is, you know, doesn't increase your serotonin. It just kind of numbs you a bit, right? I
Yeah.
wouldn't say numbs, calms you. And that was really what she took. And I remember her not, like, she wouldn't get up in the morning to, you know, help us get off to school. I started kindergarten when I was 4,
Mhm.
because I'm a January baby. So that was the deadline then. So they started me. And my oldest sister is 5.5 years older. And literally, I walked a half a mile
Oh,
to the bus stop. I always tell people in the snow with no shoes, but that wasn't the case.
that's what it felt like.
Well, it was so stressful because I couldn't keep up. You know, it was a tiny little thing.
Yeah. Oh.
And, you know, my sister was pissed because she didn't want to take care of me. Yeah, so I think she sort of like was checked out there for a while.
Yeah. But it all came right in the end.
Absolutely. My
Fantastic.
parents are both still alive. In fact, we're meeting them in Aruba in 2 weeks.
Okay.
And you know, she's happy and healthy.
And it sounds
As
like Mom and
healthy as an
Dad
80-year-old can be.
got back together again.
Yeah, isn't that amazing? That's so amazing to me. So, you know, the statistics are totally against you. And And he moved out and got an apartment.
Oh, wow.
And they got back together. But I think, you know, it also really helped because he got the opportunity to take the job in France.
Okay.
And so it was just tabula rasa for all of us, right? No one needs to know your story, right? Because you don't know anybody.
Oh, wow. That's
So
just
I think that helped.
I said, that is just incredible that they finally reconnected and here they are 60 years later.
Yeah, it is incredible.
Now you have had an interesting life too yourself with the career change, the changes of countries. Tell us a little bit about that.
So, you know, I love to learn and I love to study, but my parents kind of have this even Steven thing. So they said, you know, we'll help you with undergrad, but not with grad school.
Okay.
So I worked my way through 2 masters and a doctorate. Like I'm very practical. And so I kind of figured it out, right? They were like, we're not gonna pay, and I wanted to go, and I got a job working in the legal clinic at American University. My boss was in my international development program. It was a secretarial role,
Right.
serving the student clinicians. And then the second year, because it's a 2-year master's in the US, the second year I got an an administrative scholarship. So instead of doing research for a professor, I worked for the director of admissions.
Okay.
And I did survey research for her, Barbara Bell. I'll never forget her name. Amazing woman. Yeah, and we were looking at lost accepts. So people who got accepted to the university and then said no. So that financed me the next year. And then I was like, oh, this is awesome. And that's how I got I worked throughout my second master's and doctorate.
So why Canada?
So my husband is from Nigeria.
Okay.
And he took an opportunity up here in telecom. He's now a teacher of little people. So he actually came before me. We were not married or probably 100% committed when I got pregnant. And I was 38 when I got pregnant.
Oh, wow. It was a late pregnancy, which comes with its own challenges as well.
Yep. I mean, I'm kind of, obliviously optimistic.
I love it.
So I was like, awesome, you know, and everyone's like, you have to take it easy. And it's a very big job.
Oh, gosh. I love your attitude.
So, and it's kind of ironic because I think it's a hell of a lot easier to be in a mixed marriage and raise a biracial child in Canada, especially now, than in the US. So it's funny how life turns out.
Yeah. So you found yourselves in the right place at the right time. It is perfect.
And now it's much harder to move here. So I think it was also, I don't think that I could have made that move had I not had the life experiences I'd had before then, because it was already in my scope. Now, granted, you move with IBM, you know what I mean? Like they get your papers and they help you find an apartment and you go to private school, and I was 15, right? Yes. But and even when I moved to Israel at 19 by myself, I didn't know a soul, but I was in a university program.
Okay.
And there was, when I was in France, I babysat for one of the lawyers that my dad knew at IBM, and he knew the lawyer in Tel Aviv at IBM. So that was the one person I knew.
Oh, how wonderful. You're an adventurous spirit.
Yes. What do they call that? Like wanderlust. Um,
Oh,
so I think, yeah, I think because of that, I was able to, think, oh, well, Canada, it can't be that hard, right?
oh, man. So, what I've been trying to do with this podcast series is to pull out of all the amazing women that I'm speaking to their little nuggets of wisdom or advice that they can give another human being out there. And you've said so much, I'm not even sure where to start, but I'll go back to your childhood and the traumatic experience you had when your mom tried to commit suicide. What would you say to your younger self now that you look back in retrospect at that event?
Wow, it's a great question. Um, yeah, you know what popped into my head when you started talking was whatever doesn't kill you makes you stronger. but that's a little morbid on the suicide
True.
story. But whatever doesn't kill you makes you stronger, right?
Yes.
So I would probably tell my younger self, like, literally, you're going to be okay, first of all, and that you can be a kid again, right?
Mm-hmm.
And bad things happen, but it's definitely not as bad as it could have been, right? And I just, when there was that rash of suicides recently, or famous people, there's always suicide, but famous people who committed suicide, like Anthony Bourdain. I reached out to my mom and I was like, you know what? Thank God. Like, I just want you to know I'm so happy that it turned out this way and I can still call you.
Oh, that is so beautiful. That is so beautiful. And you go now to your biracial relationship and another person who could be in the United States right now going through that, besides immigrating to Canada. What advice would you give somebody who's there, who's facing the challenges of being in a biracial relationship?
Yeah, I think that, I kind of say it's not a choice, but of course it's always a choice,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
I mean, you can't help necessarily who you fall in love with and who you have that connection with and who you have that chemistry with, but you can make the choice to make a life with them or not. That part's choice. And that, in some ways you have to let go of, things that happen to you. And I'm not saying terrible things have happened to us, but things have definitely happened to us.
Mm-hmm.
That you have to just let go of that and move on, and that it really is other people's ignorance. And then for me, it is a responsibility, which is, if someone, because it's an interesting position to be in, right? Because at work or whatever, people don't know that my husband's Black. They don't know. And plus I'm an older mom, so they, don't necessarily think that that's my kid, right? So you face those things that are silly but annoying, right? That they don't think we're together.
Yeah.
That it's ignorance. And I don't mean that in a you ignorant, I mean literally the word ignorance and what it means, that people don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And that we all have biases and we all have racism in us, right?
Yeah.
In the pure sense of the word, that we make judgments about other people by the way they look, right?
That's so true.
And the baggage that goes with that. I think that the responsibility that I feel and that I tell people is that, I don't let it go. Right? I mean, I'm not, I hope I'm not aggressive about it, but I don't let it go.
Hmm.
So if someone says something in my presence, I call them on it.
Yes.
Not just because of my own situation, but obviously it's all inextricably linked. I'm in this situation because of how I feel and the choice that I made, right?
Man, that is so true. That
Mhm.
is so true. It's just the choices we make that we have to live with and be happy with at the same time.
Mhm.
Fantastic.
And, for me, it is a much richer life, right?
Yes.
And, we're the same on the inside. I mean, we're not intellectually the same. We're not whatever. I'm not that ignorant, right? Myself. But, there is a human connection, of course. I
Yeah.
don't know if you've seen that thing going around Facebook that it's like a white egg and a brown egg, and then it has it open cracked.
Yes. Oh, I love it. I love it.
Yeah. So,
much.
I think that you choose where you're going to stand up, right? And that it doesn't have to be a nasty confrontation.
It
It can
does.
be educating people. Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. It's about educating. You're so
It's
right.
about educating.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, because I've just ended a biracial relationship myself with a guy from Poland, and it's an
Oh
interesting,
yeah, and they're white as white can be.
just so different, and it doesn't matter where we go. You have to keep explaining yourselves to people. Oh, I love it. But thank you so much, Jill. I'm so glad we connected and you took the time to come on board and inspire us today. I
Such a
will be
pleasure.
in touch once all of this is online.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
you.
You're inspiring.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
How are you, Jerry? Your sound is not coming through. You're muted now. Jerry, unmute yourself. There we go. Ah, still no sound. You might have to drop out of the call and come back in again. It will pick it up. And I'll keep talking until you come back. So wonderful to see you. So, everybody, that was another amazing woman faced with so many challenges from childhood and still having such a positive outlook to life. It's just so inspiring to meet these women from all over the world who have picked up on their lives, continue with no reservation or hesitation. And I just feel so blessed. And I'm hoping to again reconnect with you, Jill. It's been a while since we last talked, but every time I reflect back on your story, the things that you went through, your ability to move back to Canada at the right time with your biracial family from the United States, it almost looks like everything was planned the way it should have happened. So sometimes in life, things fall into place. I have a saying that when things look like they're falling apart, they're actually just falling into place. And that's exactly what has happened in your life. So I was really excited to be able to share your story. And the next person who is coming online is a good friend of mine, one of the very first women who became a HerStory speaker at our first event in Las Vegas, USA in July 2019. So I'm going to wait for her to come. She's a phenomenal woman who has an amazing story to tell herself. She is our chairperson for Riverside, California, USA. And when I first met Jerry, I shared a story of how I was trying to raise money for little girls in Zimbabwe who don't go to school if they have a period. So Jerry, are you back online? Do you want to say something so we can see if your sound is working? No? All right. So what I'll do, Jerry, I'm going to call you on your cell phone. We can see you on screen and we'll get the audio from WhatsApp. So give me a second. We will find a way. There's just something strange that is happening for you there. So pick up your phone and I'll put you on speaker.
Hello.
Hey, Jerry.
Hey, Jerry.
So wonderful to see you.
Are you hearing the feedback that I'm hearing?
I am hearing a bit of feedback. Yes. I think it's because my phone is too close. Say something now.
I'm still hearing feedback.
Yeah, I can hear it too.
Okay, so let me.
Can you try and come online on your phone instead?
I could, yeah.
Try that
Okay.
while I share a video. We'll get this right. So we always have technical problems when we are online. Sometimes sound doesn't work. So while we wait for Jerry, I'm going to share with you a story of mine, a story of how I am on a mission. I see that I'm back. So I'm on a mission to create an app that connects the HerStory community. I will play this video and explain things as the video goes. I discovered that my unique gift of being a woman of color living in New Zealand was the best thing that ever happened to me. And it has spurred my direction in terms of where I'm going in a very unique way. We'll just test if Jerry has got her sound back now. Let's give it another try, Jerry.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, finally. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful to reconnect with you. How are you?
I'm doing really good.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
I'm so glad you're back online. And how are you doing health-wise? Do you want to share a bit of the journey you've been on these last few months?
Sure. Well, it's actually been the last 2 years. At the beginning of COVID, the very first month of COVID, I was diagnosed with cancer. And because of it being COVID, they shut down the doctor's offices, and I ended up having complications with it. By the time 3 weeks later, the tumor had grown quite large, and it resulted in a first surgery. They thought it was gone, but it's in a very strange place. It was on the back of my hand. And so they did the first surgery, and just under a year later, it came back in the same place. Oh, my phone's going to go dead. Okay, after I explain this, I'm going to have to run.
Is your charger far away?
It's in the next room.
Okay, let's do this. I have a video to play that's about 15 minutes long.
Okay.
I'll give you time to get your charger, and then in 15 minutes, we'll hear your story. How's that?
Okay, sounds good. All right.
All right. Awesome. Thanks, Jerry.
All right.
All right. So I will share this video and then explain as the video goes, the vision and the mission behind this. But it's all about women celebrating their point of difference, knowing that we are unique, we are different, and how can we use our point of difference in diversity, inclusion, and belonging, get speaking opportunities in the corporate world, get ways to sell our product, and especially for women in third world countries who don't have access to the internet. So I won the Women in Technology Awards for New Zealand and Australia in 2021 in November. And this is what this story is about. But it starts off with how I started this journey, creating a casting agency, putting forward people of color for the filming of Lord of the Rings, Avatar, and King Kong in New Zealand. So the Diversity Connector is the product that I have designed that is going to connect all of our community through the HerStory movement. It is a self-paced practice app where you come online, you're paired up with an accountability partner, you get access to all of the video coaching programs that I have put together to coach and mentor women to really articulate your message. So as you can see, we coach women to speak as well. So we are not just a speaking platform. We are a platform that has a vision and a mission to create 1 million thought leaders in the next year. So you're going to get the opportunity to download the app. But for today, you can go onto the link. Something happened to my video there, and I will play that video at the end. But you can go onto our link and help us with raising the money that we need to create this app. Jerry was one of the first women who generously donated towards this. And you could give $500, $1,000. We're aiming for $100,000 so we can scale the HerStory movement and go global. You will get the app on your phone. You get an accountability partner who you can practice with. It comes with a self-paced video coaching program. But it will also connect you with the corporate speaking opportunities that are available for women worldwide. So I'm so excited to be bringing this to you today. It's going to go online next month. So in April, the first version of the app is going to be available. And the women who have invested and spoken on the HerStory platform to date will get access to download this app for free. So if you are one of those women, please inbox me on Facebook, on LinkedIn, so I can give you the link so you can download this app for free at the end of the month when it's available. So I'm really excited. Things have moved so fast and so furious. I didn't see this being able to happen in such a short space of time. So you will get access to the Diversity Connector, you'll get access to the video coaching program, and you can actually choose your accountability partner as well. The next video that is coming up is talking about the app, how it works, the vision and the mission behind it, and how it's going to use telephone technology to give women in third world countries access to the global marketplace so they can also participate in this conference. So they can also have a way of selling their product using their cell phones and reaching the global marketplace. So I had created this video so that you can all know more about the movement and what we are going to be doing in the next phase. I'm just going to move the video along a little bit. I didn't realize it was this long. And you can also get your daughters, your children to download the children's version. It goes from age 13 to 18. So if they're in high school and they want to learn how to present, I have created 2 versions of the app, one for adults and one for children in high schools. We're going to pilot the children's version with a high school here in Melbourne, Australia. So if you are a parent and you have young kids who want to gain self-confidence and learn how to speak, again, inbox me so that we can get this into schools globally. So young kids can download the app and be able to practice and learn to be self-confident. I believe that if you can speak confidently, it helps you in all aspects of your life. We're going to move this along a little bit so that we can get to the video movement. And this is a multi-tribal necklace. Okay, the video is about to come now.
I'd like to introduce our next speaker, Gertrude, who is joining us from New Zealand. Welcome, Gertrude.
Imagine a woman in a village in Africa designing a tribal necklace, selling it for what it's worth to a designer in New York for New York Fashion Week, and then giving an online lecture to students in a university in Paris. That is the Diversity Connector app. Good evening, everyone. My name is Gertrude Mache. I'm a social entrepreneur originally from Zimbabwe and living in New Zealand for the last 21 years. I'm the founder and global curator of the HerStory Circle movement. And this is a multimedia platform where we coach and mentor speakers. We curate their stories into videos, podcasts, magazines, and books. Women in developing countries are at the bottom of the food chain. We're poor, not because we're lazy or lack creativity, but because we don't get access to the global marketplace to trade our goods and services and connect. The Diversity Connector is an app that bridges that gap for women in third world countries with those in the first world. It will help them access corporate speaking opportunities and training opportunities as well. Our tagline is inspired, ideas ignited and implemented. In phase 1, the Diversity Connector is an idea busting tool for thought leaders and a memory practice app for speakers. It has a self-paced speaking course to create your signature speech. You get speaking tips and information. You get appointments and tasks that you can schedule and get reminders an hour before or 15 minutes. You accumulate points by enrolling other members, reading blog articles, watching recommended videos, and meeting appointments with your appointed accountability partner. We already have 30,000 members in 15 countries, and we're based here in Wellington, New Zealand. We want to release our pilot for free to the first 1,000 users. In phase 2, the Diversity Connector is now a bridge between our speakers and our women in our community with corporate speaking opportunities and workshop facilitation in diversity, inclusion, and belonging. It will also have a payment gateway via telephone technology for those women in third world countries. Today, I'm here to ask for your help, not just for funding to market and scale this platform, to develop our MVP in phase 1, but to extend your networks to help us reach more women, get corporate sponsorship and grants. So please step into the future with me and help us transform the world, one woman at a time, one story at a time. Thank you.
Congratulations, Greta. Well done. Gertrude, on a fantastic pitch. And I love the idea. I think it's it's really heartfelt and it's a beautiful idea. I'm really curious to hear, how have you validated the idea in order to actually know that there's a problem that you're solving and that there's a need to actually solve it?
This idea was launched in July 2019. I had collapsed with congestive heart failure in a rice field in Indonesia.
I'm sorry to hear.
And I realized at that point that all of my projects that I had initiated in Africa, Southeast Asia, the Caribbean, where I was helping get women out of poverty with very small amounts of money from my businesses, would have died with me. So I launched this as an in-person conference. I got sponsorship from the New Zealand government. I was given a grant for $150,000 in 2019, which I didn't manage to use because of COVID. I had 10 in-person events in Las Vegas, Wellington, Sydney, Norway, London, New York, Brisbane, Melbourne, Hamilton, and Auckland before everything stopped in March 2020. I then put the platform online, and we are scaling faster now than I could have ever imagined. So I've proved it, I've tested it. There is a need. Women are wanting to connect. They're wanting opportunities to make money from home. And we have a growing community that already exists.
Fantastic. Well done.
So yeah, I really want to acknowledge you, Gertrude, and this is an amazing pitch. And also, by myself as a migrant from another country, I just know how challenging it can be to talk about the diversity inclusion. So a few things I want to ask was, what is your current business model? Is a subscription model, like is it just a social enterprise? And how, I get the picture, but then other than the what you ask for Everyone Connect, like the money side, and how much money you ask for, what's that for?
Okay, so I am asking for $1 million. We are a pay-to-play platform. Our members come online to speak for $97 at a minimum. They get a 15-minute opportunity, like a TED Talk. At $447 and $997, we charge them to get published in an anthology with 10 other women, and they get published in the HerStory magazine. They get exposure through our podcast. So people have already been paying these prices. We also didn't want money to be a barrier to entry for women to participate, especially women from Zimbabwe, from Africa, where I come from. $97 is a lot of money. So we have created a scholarship program where there are some women within our network who will sponsor another woman in a third world country who can't afford, and that has been working like a charm. We go ahead and design that woman's book cover. We help her promote and market her story using our networks, and people pre-order her book. So if she sells 15 books, she qualifies for the 447 package. If she sells 30 copies, she qualifies for the 997 package, and that has been working as well. Now, the amount of money I'm asking for is to help me build the technology behind this platform. In Africa, people don't get access to physical cash. In Zimbabwe in particular, we do not have a currency. We are trading in US dollars. So unless you have children who live overseas, who send you money, people are bartering for basic food commodities. So what I used to do when my parents were alive is I would send them money through their phone. We have what's called eco-cash. So in every village in Africa, people have got cell phones. And that's how we transact. You can take your cell phone to a supermarket, you can pay your children's school fees, and that's how I've been supporting the women in the cooperatives that I have set up in Africa. I transfer the money through a platform called World Remit. So I'm wanting to interface that in phase 2. I'm also trying to turn this into a reality TV show. So imagine a show like The Voice, American Idol, but for speakers. The competition is on 2 parts. It's on you standing up as a thought leader with an idea that can be implemented by somebody else. On the other side, every one of our members brings a social impact project that she supports in her community. We're looking for those unsung heroes, people who do things for other people without expecting any acknowledgement, grassroots projects where if we donate $5,000, $10,000, we know that 100 women got out of poverty from that gift.
Great. So very impressive, Gertrude, what you're wanting to achieve there. And one of the things I've always liked is microfinance in third world countries, where, as you know, microfinance always goes to the women because give it to the men and then they'll waste the money, and women apply the money and they use it to not only look after their family but also to create jobs for other women as well. And that's how you create great social change in third world countries. And I can see similarities in what you're talking about, what you're wanting to do there, because I mean, if you can change one or two women's life in a village, then automatically you're changing the village as well. So I think, you know, it's a great initiative that you've got going there, and I can start to see how you could do it where, like you said, having sponsorships and having sponsors fund these young women to be able to build their dream over there as well. So I'd need to understand a little bit more about how you want to go about doing it. And suppose going back to the same thing I said before with Amy, that I mean, you want $1 million, but it's again about having a look at when you need that and where to source it from, and what are the ways of being able to fund this as well. And happy to have an offline conversation with you around some of the options on doing that. But yeah, I'm a really great believer in things like what you're doing, because I think the more that we can empower young women in particular in third world countries, that's where you're going to create the social change. It's not with the men, it's with the women.
Oh.
Yeah,
Thank you, Peter. And we've already found a solution to raise the $1 million amongst the community.
Right.
In scaling this project, we are now licensing the HerStory Circle platform for other women to invest at $1,000. So if we got enough money to market and promote that and sell 1,000 licenses at $1,000 each, we can raise the money just within our community. It's the marketing budget that's really difficult at the moment.
Yeah, to get to there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So have you scoped out what you think that is?
We have scoped that out at 50,000 US.
Yep.
And the platform that we are trying to look at, we can get a platform that we can white label from one of my mentors to get us started and get the community on the platform and start testing the app. She said it will cost us anywhere from $6,000 to $10,000. And that's why I phased it in 3 phases. So we're not trying to do everything at once.
Yep. Cool. All right. Great. Well, as I said, the invite's there if you want to have an offline conversation.
Thank you.
That's the type of things we as a firm that we want to support. I mean, it's not for us, that's not about making money, that's about making a difference. And you know, as I said, I'm a great believer in empowering women in third world country, and not only that, giving them access to first world business knowledge as well, which would be an interesting thing. You maybe even have considered that as well. But you know, I think you know, that's one of the things we need to do as a first world, is to share how we do things to get to there.
And vice versa. There's a lot of knowledge that comes out of developing countries that is not known.
Yeah, absolutely. And
thank you.
That's the beauty of technology, in particular, you know, cell phones, is they've changed everything.
Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much, Gertrude. It's wonderful hearing your story and hearing about this incredible work that you are doing and your vision for even more of that in the future. Congratulations.
Thank you. Okay. Wonderful to have you back, Jerry. You've got your phone plugged in.
Yes, I do.
Fantastic. So good to see you. So we have a few comments that have come in through Facebook and through YouTube. Let me just share them before we start. Andrea, lovely to see you there in the UK. You're just there listening and at work. Wonderful to have you with us. We also have Mariam. Mariam is based in Sydney, Australia. She is one of our chairpersons in Sydney. Mariam, good to see you there as well. So if anybody would like to contribute to raising the funds for our app that's going to connect the community, go onto the website that is displayed at the bottom of the screen. The HerStory Circle, the Diversity Connector. That's going to be the app that gives you access to corporate speaking opportunities and the video coaching program as well. So Jerry, we will go on to you now. Like
Okay.
I said, it's wonderful to have you back.
Thank you.
Please continue sharing your story with us. I think start from the beginning again because you got interrupted there with the power.
Okay. Yeah, as I had mentioned before, in 2020, the beginning of COVID, I was diagnosed with cancer on my right hand. I'm right-handed, and it had grown to the size of a golf ball on the back of my hand before doctors would allow me to be seen. It resulted in a surgery and graft put on, and I thought all was well. And within the year, the cancer grew back in the same place. From there, I was referred to City of Hope in California, an amazing organization who helps people who have cancer. They have been fabulous. They referred me to a surgeon. She did surgery again, and unfortunately, within 2 weeks, they noticed they were not able to get to the place where the cancer was. So I just finished 7 weeks of radiation on that hand, which was way more painful than I expected. The recovery's going to take a lot longer than I expected. But I do believe that they did get the cancer. I won't know for another 3 months if they did, but I feel pretty good about it. There's just a lot of little side effects that I wasn't expecting. So that's why I haven't come to the meeting sooner. But I'm here now and I'm feeling pretty good. And I am finally healing. And I am grateful for City of Hope and for all the people who sent their prayers and love on my behalf.
It's wonderful to have you back, Jerry. Absolutely wonderful. I have missed you so much. Ruth is actually not feeling very well herself, so she's getting ready for surgery. So she has been off sick for quite a few weeks.
Oh, she has.
It's just been a very challenging time for everybody.
Yeah.
Now I'm hearing a crackle.
Yes.
I think it's on my side, right?
I can't figure out why it's making that noise. Let me see if it is having, and because I'm leaning my phone against my computer. Let me see if removing my computer gets rid of it.
Okay.
Nope, that didn't do it. Okay.
Right.
And there is a crackle. There we go.
I actually wonder if it's on your side or my side.
I'm sorry.
I might just get the headset just to check. Give me a second.
Okay.
You can entertain people while I'm gone.
Whoa. Entertaining is not my strong suit, but I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I am a grandmother of 108 grandchildren, including grandchildren and great-grandchildren, and 109 will be announced or will be revealed on Friday this week. I have a very full and happy life. Because of the cancer, I did end up having to leave my home and sell it and move in with one of the kids so that they could assist me with my husband while I go through my treatment. And that's gone very well. We're happy. He's really happy to be in a situation where he can do odd jobs for his son's company, and it has definitely improved his life. So that's been really well. We are blessed with between us 15 kids. That's how we ended up with so many grandchildren, and they're all happy and healthy, and they're all married, and I'm grateful for that. So that's a little bit about me.
Wonderful, Jerry. Thank you. So if anybody can hear the crackle that I hear, please just indicate. And if it keeps going, Jerry, I might ask you to also get a headset, and let's see if it improves the quality.
Okay.
In the meantime, I'll play the next video. Our next speaker is based here in Melbourne, Australia. I'll read her bio quickly. So Tanya Southerly is the Chief Person and Organization Development Officer at Vicinity Centres here in Melbourne, Australia. And her bio says, after many years in amazing organizational corporations, Jerry, I'm going to mute you for a second and see if it makes a difference. Okay, now I don't hear it. So get a headset, Jerry, and plug in the headset in your phone if you have one while I play this video. So sorry about that, everybody. After many years in amazing organizational corporations, I have made a decision to integrate all aspects of myself into my work. This means using the professional expertise I have built as a seasoned C-suite executive, as well as my passion for writing, laughing, and building a better world. I strive to help create healthy humans who are resilient, happy, and interested in achieving their potential and dreams. So Tanya, I am wanting to reconnect with you since I'm now here in Melbourne, Australia. This is your video. Let's reconnect soon.
Thanks, Gertrude. I'm Tanya Southey. I'm 51 and I live in Melbourne, Australia. But I was born on African soil in South Africa and grew up through the apartheid years, which actually shaped me in some very interesting ways. And I think, you know, as you said, Gertrude, Africa kind of builds a certain resilience that you just, it's in the grit of the soil there. So yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Yeah, you can't deny what Africa does. It's in our blood, right? And it's the best thing that ever happened to me. It made me tenacious, feisty. Yep. You just don't give up, because giving up is not an option there.
No, exactly. I was thinking, you know, there's no social welfare, there's nothing. So from an early age, you just sort of, you know, older people look in your eyes and go, you better work, you better just get on with it or you're going to die.
And you will too. Literally. So, gosh, you've had an amazing life. You've worked in the corporate world. I want you to touch a little bit about that, but more so the living legacy you're trying to create going forwards.
Yeah, so I spent 25 years in corporate and a lot in senior executive roles for General Electric, for Jetstar, part of Qantas, and for Carlton United Breweries. And I created a life that I didn't expect, coming from a small mining town, you know, in the middle of Africa. I didn't even think I'd leave the little village. And, you know, I wasn't a privileged person growing up. My father was quite poor and he pushed us to study and put me through private school. And I remember at the time really almost hating it, because all my friends were, you know, they lived in better houses, their parents drove better cars, and I used to feel like really grumpy about things. But I think that work ethic and and sort of seeing how he worked sort of drove in me, how do I make other people's lives better? And being in HR for all the companies that I worked in, of course, I often had to make hard decisions about people's careers, but I also wanted to build people's careers.
Okay.
And kind of, especially women, I've got a passion around building women because I really believe that when women are empowered, they educate their children, they bring up children, and you know, as women, I think we tend to kind of put ourselves last.
Yes.
And we have to learn to put ourselves first so that we can actually serve everyone that we love, because you can't serve from an empty tank. And so I was very fortunate in my last role to have worked on a massive $106 billion integration selling our business that I was in at the time. And I've now taken a sabbatical, and I'm really looking to create a life I don't need to take a vacation from.
Oh, I like that.
That's my goal, that I really work hard, but at no point do I go, oh my God, I'm looking so forward to that holiday because I'm just so sick of this. You know? Yeah, so I want to be doing work that I love with people that are growing. And so how that's shaping up for me in the last sort of 18 months is I've written a children's book, which my daughter illustrated. So it was a collaboration between the two of us, and that's doing really well, actually. So that's out. And I've been working with coaching women and working with CEOs on how to shift their culture and how to get the best out of their people, but also at the same time how to grow their businesses organically, because there's no point you know, telling people, oh, be nice to your people, but the business profits aren't there. CEOs don't listen to that. So how do you do both? And I've really been enjoying that. So that's kind of a potted history.
Oh, fantastic. So which kind of women are you trying to reach? I mean, I have a wide range of women who are listening to this podcast.
Yeah.
Who's your target market?
So two particular women, the younger women who potentially are trying to break through into more senior roles and are really battling with juggling small children and a career. And, you know, I've been there. I know how hard that is. So really working with them on how do you show up in a way that is more, that people take you more seriously, that they actually see your potential. And then also with senior women who are, you know, just trying to take their career to the next level.
Fantastic. Oh, wow. I can't wait to see what you will create going forwards. This sounds like a fascinating enterprise. And I do like the idea of creating for yourself a job that's not really a job. I think I've successfully done that with my clothing business. I get to go to Vietnam, to Macedonia, to buy fabric. I travel and I have fun at the same time. And it sounds to me like that's what you're aiming for.
Yeah, because certainly with, you know, book writing is probably, you know, unless you're J.K. Rowling, and I'd love to be J.K. Rowling, so, you know, visualize that. But book writing is not going to, you know, turn me into a squillionaire.
No.
It's a real passion for me to write books that are interesting, entertaining, but also make people think and grow and develop. So, you know, I'm hoping to do the same thing with books, you know, go on a global book tour, you know, coach and mentor women all around the world, and just enjoy life.
Fantastic. So I'm going to ask you to leave us with 3 nuggets of wisdom. 2 to the younger women who are starting out. What would you have said to your younger self? And then I'll ask you for 4 nuggets of wisdom, 2 for each age group. And then what would you say to women over the age of 50?
Okay, so the nuggets to the younger self, I would say, I think there's a real concept about us not being enough. And you are always enough for where you are at the point in your life. And if you don't believe in yourself, no one else is going to believe in you. And I think what's really difficult at the moment is social media and Instagram and all of those, wonderful things that connect us. Like I wouldn't have connected with you without technology, right? But they leave us with the impression that everyone else has got their shit together.
Right.
And they leave us with this veneer of connection around the perfection of everyone else's lives. And I think for younger women to, and this kind of goes to the nugget for what older women can do as well. I think we need to be more authentic. We need to connect with younger people and show them where we've had our own struggles and difficulties.
Yes.
And talk about our stories, because I think a lot of younger women are left with the impression that, it's somehow, it's people who've been successful, it was in their DNA. They don't realize the depth that people have had to pull their through. So having those authentic conversations, especially when you're in senior roles, I know in my senior roles, having had conversations where I've been vulnerable, people have come to me and said, oh, now I feel like I can do it because you felt like I could. So that's kind of maybe for both, how do you reciprocate with, with that? The other thing I would tell my younger self is don't think that your plan is your plan. If you think really big, you can go really big, because if I had have lived with my plan, I would still be, I'd probably be in Johannesburg, because that was a bigger city than I grew up in. That was like, oh, imagine if you lived in Johannesburg. Really set yourself a big goal and then just really see yourself living that life, because you can trick your subconscious brain into actually believing that that's what you're doing.
And your subconscious will work it out, right?
It will. And when you put it out there, and don't put it out with arrogance or whatever, put it out with humility and passion. But when you put it out there as to what you want, you will attract, opportunities, or there's a part of your brain called the reticular activating system, which is a filter, and it filters out things that are not useful to you.
Yeah.
So if you use that part of your brain to actually filter opportunities, because if you don't believe an opportunity is going to be there for you, your brain will filter it out when it's right in front of your face.
That is so true.
So, really working on yourself and seeing how you can shift. Change starts from the inside out. First you've got to believe it, you've got to see it, and then when you can see it, other people will see it, and opportunities just come to you.
Yeah.
And
wonderful.
And I would say the same to the 50-year-olds, because I think one of the biggest dangers of getting older is, especially in a culture that is so youth oriented, we've all got to look a certain way, and everything's about being young.
Yeah.
It's very, when you turn 50, you start getting lines, and things are sagging to kind of, I'm a has-been. And for me, I often follow this wonderful gynecologist, Dr. Christiane Northrup in the US, and she talks about the wisdom of your 50s and how it should be the best time of your life. And so what I really want to work with older women is to not fear aging so much, to step into the space where you have wisdom, you have experience, and what deliciousness is out there for you to actually contribute back to the world. How do you become your own little mini Oprah in your own world,
Oh, I love it. I love it. That is a really nice message to leave us all with. How do you become your own mini little Oprah? I am so loving that, because we all have that greatness in us, right?
Exactly. And, you know, you might not reach millions of people, but you might reach that one person that you make such a big difference to, that goes on and does something else.
Yeah.
And, you know, so I think in our 50s, we've got to start to say, and often some of us are having babies later, but often by your 50s, your children are more grown up, they're more sort of independent, and you can go on to do some other things.
Yeah.
And so my message to the 50s and the nugget is, use this time. Don't think it's dead time and you in the decline. Get energetic, get out there. You know, possibly you have the best work in your life.
Yes. Oh, thank you so much. And thank you for coming online to do this podcast. I hope all the women out there who've heard you speak are left inspired and energized. For the young ones, knowing how to see what the future could look like. And for the older ones like us, to reinvent our lives and know that we've had the babies, we've had the careers. If you're at a crossroads and you're thinking about going in a different direction, find the support that you need to get it done. Don't do it the hard way. There's people out there like Tanya who can handhold you step by step all the way. So thank you so much, Tanya.
Lovely to meet you.
Awesome meeting you too, and let's keep in touch.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to that.
Bye.
Yes.
Okay. That was the beautiful Tanya here in Melbourne, Australia. My biggest take home was the wisdom of the 50s. So when we cross that big 5-0, we have to remember where we've come from as women, the wisdom that we now have. I'm looking forward to reconnecting with you, Tanya. I'm definitely going to be giving you a call next week. Jerry, it's good to have you back. What did you take out of the last presenter's speech?
Well, unfortunately, I missed part of her presentation, but I didn't miss her words of wisdom, which I loved, because I was trying to figure out my sound system here. That's the only reason I missed it. But I do agree with her. I mean, I'm going to be 70 in May, and the last 20 years have been much more enlightening as a woman and as a person than the first 50 years of my life. I gained more, and I never did feel. Luckily, I have always been blessed with so much support in my life. I never did feel like getting old was a crutch or a problem of any kind, because I've been blessed enough to have a lot of respect in my life from my family and those people I know. So that has been made it so that I didn't have to struggle those struggles of, what my body is, what it is. It's always been what it is. It's always going to be what it is. And so long as I can stay healthy and be able to smile every day and wake up and enjoy my days, it doesn't matter what the rest is. So I thoroughly enjoyed her words of wisdom.
Thanks. Thanks so much, Jerry. Yeah, we get to meet these amazing women who just bring so much to this community in terms of their wisdom, their life experiences, and we get to share them with everyone every single day. And it just delights me when this kind of thing happens, where I come online every day and there's just one person after the other, just truly, truly, truly inspirational. So I'm just preparing our next video, and this is a young woman who is based in Hawaii, who has shared just an amazing, amazing story. You know, when I met her, I had read her bio. I kind of thought I knew what she was about and what she stood for. And then she started talking, and the thing that struck me the most is how someone so young could be so wise. So she is from New York. She decided to quit her day job, leave everything in the corporate world, and go and live in Hawaii to become a Buddhist. Now, Buddhism is part of her culture. Both her parents studied Buddhism as young children, so she comes from an immigrant family. But what's really fascinating about her story is the perspective in which she's viewing life and death. Now, a lot of us don't want to think about death, yet it's the most inevitable thing that will happen to all of us. I was reading a book the other day that said we are born to die. So the minute you come into this world, your cells start to die off. But a lot of people want to live in denial that death is coming. And this is what she touches on in this particular interview. So, Stephanie, it gives me great pleasure to connect with you. And I know, Jerry, you will relate to all of this as well. You've had experiences in your family, you know, losing loved ones. Your grandmother's book that you wrote is just one of the most inspiring stories. I actually shared it during the summit a few days ago because I knew you were not feeling well and you couldn't be with us. So I pulled out the video of when you stole your grandmother from the retirement home and I shared that. So people have got to experience you a little bit, even though you couldn't be with us. I still have the video content that you shared.
Wonderful,
so we'll delve into Stephanie's video, and then Jerry will come back online and just have a little conversation around what she's sharing. See you soon,
good.
everybody. Hello, everybody. Oh. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the HerStory TV and the HerStory podcast. This is Gertrude Macha here in beautiful Melbourne, Australia. And today I am graced with the presence of yet another amazing young woman. Welcome, welcome, welcome to our tribe. Please tell everybody your full name, where you're based, how old you are, and share your story with us today.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm Stephanie Lyra Lynn. I'm based on Big Island, Hawaii. I'm 37 years old. And yeah, I'm really grateful for the opportunity to share a little bit today about my journey, sort of rebirthing myself. For me, the turning point happened when I was, well, it was in 2013. So I guess that's about 8 or 9 years ago. And I was actually in the middle of a PhD program studying Buddhism at Columbia University in New York. But I was in Taiwan at that time. I was already at the dissertation stage. So I had already gone through 6 years of coursework in New York. And I found myself in Taiwan, which is actually the homeland of my father's side. So I think I was also touching base with my roots in a deeper way. I was born in New York City, and I hadn't really spent much time in Asia, China, Taiwan. So I was getting in touch with my roots. I was just feeling more emotions, allowing myself to feel more emotions. I think the freedom of moving to another place kind of opens things up in a new way. But I could feel this gnawing dissatisfaction start to creep in, and it would get stronger and stronger until one day I was working on my chapter 1 of my dissertation, and I felt like my fingers couldn't move on the keyboard anymore. Like no matter how much I tried, I just couldn't type another word. And that was so rare for me because I had always been like the good girl, the good student, just following the rules. And I was very good at making myself do whatever it is I thought I should be doing. So it was very rare for me to have a moment where I just, something larger was moving through me, and this larger force, I would call it the voice of my heart, of my soul, was just like, you need to stop what you're doing right now and listen. And so I actually did. I actually, for the first time, stopped and didn't push, forward. And I remember going back to my room and just crying and just feeling like, what just happened? Like, I don't know what's going on. I feel so strange. I don't know what to do. I gathered myself together, and then the next day I went to a little cafe, and I had just started working with a coach for the first time. And I remember he asked the question, or someone asked the question, what would you do if you had no fear? And so I decided to just, in this sort of meditative state, write that down on my journal. What would you do if you had no fear? And just spontaneously let the answer come out. And I wrote, I would quit school and go on a soul journey, Bardo. And I was like, okay, wow, what does that really mean? And so the first thing that came to mind was, am I going to travel to India? Am I going to take like this spiritual, physical journey? And then I tuned in a bit more, and Bardo is a Buddhist concept of the period in between death in this life and rebirth in the next. It's an in-between liminal period where the soul is traveling until it finds its next reincarnation. And so I said, why don't I do this rebirthing process while I'm still alive, and I don't have to go travel anywhere, but I'm just gonna, for the first time, really let myself die to the old, like just let it go, pretend like I have no idea who I am, forget about all the identities I've placed on myself, and just open up to maybe other things that I want to do. And so once I opened up that question, I began to have a lot of new experiences that started to step by step lead me forward, to where I am now.
Wow. It's amazing what happens when you open up your heart, open up your soul to other possibilities. It sounds to me like you stepped into literally the new you, this rebirth. And what a beautiful space to be in.
Yeah.
Now, what is the biggest thing about Buddhism that has attracted you?
That's a great question. Wow. Well, I was exposed to Buddhism from a young age, around age 6, 7. My dad started going to a meditation center in Queens, New York. So I kind of just stepped into that place, and there were all these Taiwanese Buddhist students of the teacher. He was teaching meditation, holding kind of traditional Chinese Buddhist ceremonies. So I remember the energy, the feeling there was very meditative. It was like all about calming the mind, just calming the mind, calming the emotions. And there was a spiritual energy there that's just something out of time, something not in the mundane world of hustle bustle, working. Like it was just this bigger energy. So I remember feeling that when I was younger and resonating with it. Like it just felt good, and it felt familiar to me. So I was exposed a little bit to that environment, the Buddhist environment of kind of like peaceful presence and kind of like looking at the bigger picture beyond just the physical world. And then it wasn't until I was 18 that I found myself in a Buddhism class in college. And that's when I started actually learning more concretely the teachings of the Buddha. And again, I felt at home. I was like, oh, wow, this feels good. So to answer your question, what is it that drew me in? I think it was that there was a framework for finding peace within myself in a world that seems so unpeaceful sometimes, seems so chaotic and filled with suffering. It was like there was a pathway and a philosophy that made sense to me that helped me just navigate the world. You know, I would say most of all, a sense of peace moving through the teachings that I didn't find anywhere else that I was looking.
Wow. Wow. You know, at a time like this where the world is in a bit of turmoil, you know, this war in Ukraine, I was reading somewhere the other day that for there to be peace in the world, it has to start with each and every one of us, that peace begins with me, that we need to be centered within ourselves to be able to experience that, to have a ripple effect that goes out into the world.
Yes, yes.
So what is your daily practice to keep yourself centered in peace?
Mm-hmm. It's finding moments of meditation. And for me, the meditation is for even just a few moments, to kind of drop the thinking mind, like to not have the thoughts be dominant. And thoughts are usually concerned with sense of self, like what am I gaining? What am I losing? It's concerned with time, the past, the future. And so for me, the meditation is for a moment just popping out of that very I-oriented way of being to a more open space that can kind of feel more the connection, you know, among all things, you know, all elements of nature, the animals, the trees, and then other people too, to take other people as not separate from myself. So for me, meditation is finding time to cultivate the practice of taking the center of focus off of the small I, the I, like this personality that I've constructed, and just expand beyond that. And I find that when I expand that way, a lot of the little problems and concerns kind of melt away. So my practice is to not lose touch with this wider
Melt
awareness.
away. Yeah. That's really interesting, and such a blessing to hear that, you know, like I said, at this time in our lives when it just feels like chaos right now.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like the world is in a bit of a turmoil. So what is your take on this pandemic?
Mm-hmm.
You know, my grandmother used to say that when catastrophic events like this happen, there's something that humanity is supposed to be learning.
Mm-hmm. Totally. Yeah.
What do you think the lesson is for all of us in what is going on in the world?
I feel it's to look at what in us is being touched by it, whether it's a heart opening, you know, and it's a calling forth, or whether it's a pain, you know, like maybe we've held on to a resentment from our past and something in what we're seeing feels unfair or feels not right. So to me, it's kind of to depersonalize, more personalize actually, you know, not look at it as something that we can all agree upon, like this is what's happening. Same with, you know, war breaking out. Like not to say we can all agree that this is exactly what's happening, because we don't actually know what's happening in a way. But what we can know is how is that, those images on the screen, whether it's about the pandemic or war, how are those images touching me?
Yes.
You know, and that's going to guide us inward to see, okay, what's unresolved in me, or what needs care inside of myself, what needs tending to inside of myself that maybe I haven't thought about until I started seeing these images. And it starts triggering memories. Like I work with people, and sometimes I just worked with someone, had a session with someone whose ancestry is from the Russia, the former Soviet Union. And so for her, it was like these things were triggering memories of, wow, what did my parents go through? What did my grandparents go through? What was it like when I immigrated, you know, from Russia to Israel, you know? And it's like, okay, what is this showing me that what in me wants attention right now? What
Yeah.
in me needs some more understanding? So that's kind of the opportunity that I see for all of us now.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Now you moved away from home. You know, you said you grew up in New York and now you're in Hawaii. What was that transition like, this rebirth? Being totally on your own, away from family and friends. Tell me about that journey.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I have a gypsy spirit of sorts. I wonder if it's ever, am I going to stay in Hawaii? But yeah, the first place I moved was Taiwan to do the dissertation research on Buddhism and Buddhist
Right.
deathbed practices. And I spent 2 years there. And then I spent 3 years in Israel, which is actually where a lot of the rebirthing process was happening for me. Because I met a man in Taiwan who was from Israel, and we fell in love. And then, you know, I just found myself in Israel for a little over 3 years.
Yes.
So that journey, I like being exposed to different people and to different culture and to different ways of being. And I remember when I arrived in Israel, actually another war kind of broke out, and I experienced what it's like to kind of be in a place where there's missiles like flying, and then there's the defense system shooting them down in the air. There's the sirens, you know, going to tell people to take cover. And that was totally new for me. So I think that I just have a curious spirit, you know, that
A very curious nature.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. So where do you see yourself 5, 6, 10 years from now?
Yeah. Well, I feel that I would like this, I would like to have a home base, you know, and the feeling that I have on this island and what I've been learning about just being closer to nature and how to grow food and how to feed myself, and just a sense of resourcefulness that I didn't learn growing up in a city. Where,
Yes.
like, you know, the water goes on, the lights go on, you know, it just goes, the food is in our grocery store, you know. So I'm kind of like coming back to a different way where we can get the lighting from the solar panels, you know, capture the energy of the sun. Our water comes from the rain, you know, that's being caught in the tank.
Wow.
And food's coming from the earth. And that's like a total new thing for me, you know.
Can you imagine?
So, yeah, I feel like the next few years will be this kind of relearning how to live more in harmony with the earth and to know the source more of where things come from.
Yeah. Oh, how incredible is that? What a blessing, though.
Yeah, I feel really blessed.
That is a real blessing that you're in this space where you're touching the earth, you're growing your food, you're harnessing the water.
Yeah. And I'm just a baby at it. Like, I'm more just watching people grow their food right now. But soon, you know, I want to get my hands in there, but I'm just, you know, soaking it in.
Yeah. Oh, that is just beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. So is there anything I should have asked you? I always ask this question because I meet so many fascinating people. And sometimes there's a nugget of wisdom that I didn't pull out of that person. Is there anything else you would like to share with our community?
Yeah, I think I would like to share maybe like a word of encouragement to anyone who maybe feels like they want to like step out of a familiar way of being. And I think the encouragement would come from kind of recognizing that this life is fleeting. You know, we don't know when it's going to end. And there's nothing to lose by following your heart, by following something that's pulling you forward. And to maybe use meditation as a tool to release the fear that comes when we are overly identified with, you know, me, you know, just me and how I can gain, how I might lose, like how to protect, how to defend, you know, just loosen that all up. Let the fear not be so dominant, you know, and then that can give the courage to take a step forward, to take a leap of faith, you know, and step into the unknown.
And stepping into the unknown is not easy.
Yeah.
It's not easy. Well, thank you so much. Thank you. I really appreciate you coming online and sharing these nuggets of wisdom with us today. I really look forward to staying in touch with you and finding out how you're doing and coming to Hawaii one of these days to actually meet you in person.
Yes, I would love that. Yes.
Now
Let's
that I
plan
know
that
you're
scene
there.
right now.
It's on my bucket list of places to go.
Amazing.
But
Oh.
thank you to everybody who's tuned in today. The Her Story movement is on a mission to connect 1,000 women in the month of March. When I started on the 1st, I was only aiming for 300 women. And then we got a major sponsor who came in yesterday, who's going to facilitate and allow me to curate 1,000 stories. And out of the 1,000 stories, we're going to pick 100 women who get to come to New Zealand and Australia next year. At the end of the year in December. So if you are one of those women, go onto our website, theherstorycircle.com. Please register to speak. And we are going to have you back. Please remember to record the 15-minute presentation and send it to me. And again, pick a completely different topic, keep us inspired. If you have any meditation processes that you do, you could open up your presentation with something very spiritually grounding, because I'm trying to bring more women who have different ways of living to the platform. Because what you're doing is very, very pivotal in bringing about peace in the world. I do strongly believe that you are part of the solution we are all seeking.
No.
So thank you for focusing on you and reminding us that we need to focus on ourselves as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody. Have a fantastic day, morning, or evening, wherever you are in the world. I'll be back again tomorrow with yet another amazing guest. Have a fantastic time. Bye for now. Thank you so much again for the interview.
Totally. Thank you.
Okay, I was technologically challenged there, Jerry. The video quality was not the best. I think it was a combination of her connection and mine.
But the message came across clear.
That's good.
The video part of it wasn't as great as but her message was very clear.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was an amazing young woman. Very, very centered. You can feel the stillness in her. She exudes this calm energy. Yeah, just such a delight. I hope she does get to come to New Zealand and Australia. And you, of course, you know, you're on the list. You're one of the first people on the list who's coming to visit this part of the world, hopefully in December.
That'd be exciting. I can't wait.
Yeah, no, that's awesome.
It's been a long time coming, and it'll be wonderful. But she was amazing. You know, I gotta say, I have always been blessed with the ability to find peace in my life. As a young child, my mother left when I was 6, and I kind of had to find my own peace. And my dad used to say to me, because I was so young when she left, he used to say to me that I was the peacemaker in the family. And I kind of thought, yeah, I was. I was the one of, you know, I was one of 7 that my dad raised by himself. And I was the one in the family that could get people to stop fighting or to stop being contentious. And I've come to the conclusion in my later years that I've always felt at peace, and I've always felt that I could be calming for someone. And I think that is one of the things I've been most grateful for in my entire life. I didn't have where she did it, where she had that, I would say, an epiphany, or, she made a decision to make a change in her life. I think that's so awesome at a young age like that. I never had that need or anything like that, but because I've had a pretty peaceful life. But I was very impressed with her willingness to just drop it all and move on and find it. When she talked about learning to garden, I mean, I connected with her in a lot of ways. Gardening is one of my passions. I had a beautiful garden in my home, and I look forward to doing that again, because when we get down to earth, God has blessed us with a wonderful earth and the ability to make our own food or grow our own food into. Well, I never had to harvest my own water. That was pretty impressive that they're harvesting their water. But I've always been in a place where you turn on the faucet and out it comes. But I think I would enjoy that. I would enjoy that. What she's doing right now, I would thoroughly enjoy that process. And when she talked about how it can sometimes change or be scary to make changes like that, I've never had that kind of fear. But I know some people that are stifled by that fear, and I think that fear can hold us back from really enjoying our lives.
Yeah.
And if we could get past the fear of change, or the fear of what someone else is going to think of us, or the fear of all these fears. I mean, I look at this world we're in right now, and I'll tell you, since I was a young girl, war has always been very sad to me. I mean, during the Vietnam War, I was a teenager, and I remember praying every day that nobody would ever have a war again. I mean, that's unrealistic, I realize now. But if I could create the perfect world, or have the world be the way I want it to be, there wouldn't be war. There wouldn't be contention, because I don't believe contention edifies us. Contention of any kind in our life is not edifying. And I really, really pray. I mean, I'll be driving down the street and I see someone homeless on the side of the road, and it honestly breaks my heart. If I had all the money in the world, I would gather all these people up and find a place for them to live and teach them how to do a skill. I just think that, of course, we all would like to be able to do that. But it does honestly break my heart when I see someone suffering, especially when it may not be by their own hand. My son has a goal that if he ever makes enough money, and he's trying to sell a business that would make him enough money to do so, he wants to buy a property, a 40-acre property, and build a community for our veterans. That there's so many of them that end up on the streets, and he wants to teach them a skill. He wants to give them family housing if he has a family, or apartments if they have, if they're single, and teach them, have a medical center so they can be medically taken care of. It's a wonderful dream. It is just an amazing dream, and I hope that happens.
That is awesome.
And if he ever does that, I'm jumping in both feet. I don't know what I'll be able to do to help out, but I know there's going to be something I can do. I just know it. And so I was really impressed with her willingness to just jump in and make the changes she needed to make to get her peace.
Yeah, and
we all
it's
should be able
true.
to do
It
that.
starts with each and every individual person before it can ripple effect to the rest of the world. It starts with all of us.
Yeah.
That was the biggest lesson there. Well, we
Yeah.
pray for peace for Ukraine. They
Yes.
are going through a very, very challenging time right now.
They
I have
are.
family affected in Poland on my current husband's side, so it's not a good time in the world. So I think we can end our summit with that today. That find the peace within yourself, within your home, within your community. That ripple
Yeah.
effect will go across to war-torn zones where people are suffering right now.
Oh,
So Jerry, it was awesome to have you back. I'm just so excited to see you. And I'll send
thank
you the
you.
link for tomorrow if you're feeling up to it.
Oh, I
Let's
will
do
be.
this again.
I'll be here tomorrow.
Okay,
I
awesome.
will.
All right.
Now, I got to get the time right though. Okay, so you said
So
you
where
told
are you
me
now? Which country are you
I'm
in?
in Utah,
All right.
and
I'll
it's
send you
Central
a
Time
calendar
Zone.
invitation.
Oh, okay.
Then that way we
Sounds
get
got
it
it.
right. We won't make any mistakes.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Jerry.
We will
Wonderful,
see you
wonderful to
tomorrow.
see you again. You just so made my day today.
Oh,
You
thank
really
you. You
did.
guys
Thank
always make my
you.
day. Thank you.
Take care, Jerry. Bye bye, everybody. See you
Bye-bye.
tomorrow, same time. Bye.
Bye.